Hey, everybody, welcome back to my podcast, The Purple People. I'm so happy you're here because today I've got something really exciting happening. I'm going to be talking to a wonderful lady called Louise Rothwell. Now, I've known Louise for many years now, and she is, in my eyes, an absolute rock star in the therapist world. She has helped me change my life around, make me see the positive in things again. And for anybody that suffers with anxiety, panic attacks, which I have done since I was a small kid, she has helped me just stop that process. Like, I can't even put it into words. So rather than me try to explain how it's helped me, I am going to let Louise have a chat, tell you about how her therapy works, the things that she does, how it can help people in different ways. And I know from personal experience just how incredible this lady is. So without any further ado, I'm going to stop talking now and I'm just going to introduce you to the lovely Louise. Hello, Louise. How are you, my darling?
I'm fine, Joe. How are you?
I'm all right, my love. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're an extremely busy lady, so it's nice to grab half an hour of your time. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are welcome. It's nice to be here.
And for those that are listening, this lady in front of me, she's a therapist rock star. She's absolutely amazing. You are a true gem. And for anybody that doesn't know Louise, she is based in North Yorkshire in the lovely town of Whitby. And how would you class your therapy? Would you class it as neuro-linguistic programming, or is it integral eye movement therapy, or is it a mixture of both?
I would say it's a mixture of everything, really, because obviously I'm trained in neurolinguistics, trained in integral eye movement therapy, and in solution focused therapy. So I think really I like to say that I'm solution focused therapist because that covers everything that I do, because the type of therapy that I offer is about moving you forward rather than staying stuck in the past. So it offers solutions for the future. So I kind of umbrella it under solution focused therapy, really.
It's absolutely amazing what you do, though. I think, was it 2019 I first came to see you? I think it was.
Yes, I think so,
it
yeah.
was before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And since I've come to see you, I think my entire family has been in your hot seat by this point. I've seen you, my sister's seen you, my husband's seen you, even my youngest daughter, who was, I think, 8 when she saw you.
That's right, yeah.
So whatever it is that you're doing, it's absolutely amazing. But what I wanted to discuss really was the fact how I think before I found you, I felt like I'd tried every trick in the book and just nothing was working. And I was feeling so frustrated with the way I was feeling and everything that was going on. And I was just getting nowhere fast.
Yeah.
I do remember going to the doctors once, and it had taken me about 6 months to work up to going because I was having panic attacks every day. I was feeling really anxious and I was getting all the cold sweats and working myself up silly. And they basically just said, "What do you want to talk about?" I said, "I think I'm having panic attacks." "How do you know you're having panic attacks?" "Well, that's how I feel." "Right, do you want some antidepressants?"
Yeah.
No, I don't think I do. "Can I talk about something else?" "Oh no, we can't talk about anything else. You have to leave and make another appointment, then come back again." And of course, I never did.
I think it's a bit of a sticking point for people, because what I find is I tend to either be the first person somebody finds along the way, or I'm like the last person they come to when they've tried everything else. But I think what's different is, for a lot of people that suffer with anxiety, they're kind of scared to go for help, because if you go down the generic counselling route, which obviously there's nothing wrong with going down a counselling route, if that's what the route you want to take, and it's really helpful to a lot of people. But if you've not really experienced anything like a big life-changing event, or you've gone through some trauma or anything like that, a lot of people are a bit put off, because they think, well, what do I do when I go there and I get asked what's caused this problem, or what's happened to me? And I think a lot of people get asked that question a lot, like, why?
Because some people don't know why they're feeling like they're feeling.
No, and that's what I find, particularly with anxiety, is it's not actually an event or an occurrence that's happened or something that you've been through. What it tends to be is the way that your brain works, and works for you, and has always worked for you, is suddenly starting to work against you a little bit. And all the personality traits that you have, and the way, how much time you spend in your head, and how much time you ruminate on different thoughts and feelings, it's just working against you at that point in your life, and you've got yourself into a bit of a mess with it all, and it just needs to sort of be reset back to how it was. So when people come to see me and they go, I don't really know why I feel like I do, I just feel like it just seems to have happened to me, and there's no real big event, and my life's kind of perfect really, but I'm just feeling this way. They think that means you can't help them, but to me that's music to my ears, because to me that means you've just got yourself into this pattern of behaviour, thoughts and feelings, which are all connected and affecting the way that you're going about your life. So I think a lot of people, that for that sort of thing, and the reason as well, when they go forward in time, they might have gone through all sorts of different types of therapies, is it doesn't matter really how much work you do on yourself, or dealing with, say you have been through a trauma, dealing with the trauma or the event. If you continue to speak to yourself in the same way after the event, you're going to get yourself back into the same sort of patterns again. So a lot of people do deal with things, and then they might come and see me after they've been through lots of counselling, or they've been through grief therapy, or whatever sort of therapy they look at, or counselling they look at, and they've dealt with the trauma, but they're still doing old behaviours to protect themselves going forward, and it's limiting their life. And that's what I like to work with. I like to make sure that they're getting the most they can going forward in life.
You see, the thing for me, I think it was because we'd all obviously suffered this huge traumatic event in our lives. We lost like 6 or 7 people close in the family within a really, really short space of time. And even though I'm a healer, I love meditation, and I was still doing all those things, and I could think about the trauma really logically. But even though I knew that, my brain was going into worst case scenario mode like all the time, which was causing the panic attacks. And I knew this, I knew what I was doing, but I couldn't stop. I just could not stop, to the point I'm driving home from a gig at 3 o'clock in the morning, speeding, because I've convinced myself that Jace has had a heart attack and the girls are over him crying because there's more trauma on the way. And then I get home, they're all sound asleep in bed, and I'm like a panic-stricken idiot.
Taking ages to calm back down. And that's the thing. It's we get into a state with ourselves, and then we put ourselves into fight or flight all the time. And it's not actually that there's anything situationally happening, but it's the way our brain has started, particularly if you've been through trauma. What you then try and do is protect yourself in the future. So you think, right, that happened to me, and it really caught me off guard, and it was horrific. So what I'll do is I'll prepare for everything going forward. And you can't, because you don't know what's going to happen and what's going to be around the corner. So you automatically go into this what if mode of thinking, where, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? And if I think about the worst case scenario, but what you're actually doing is suffering with something when it's not actually even happening. And that thought process, when you're telling yourself, what if this, what if that all the time, your subconscious brain, it thinks it's an instruction, and it listens to you talking to yourself, and it says, right, something bad's going to happen. We need to prepare this body for this event. And so it gives you adrenaline, the only way it knows how to deal with something scary that's about to happen, right back to caveman times. Have a load of adrenaline so you can run away from the saber-toothed tiger. And you've got all this adrenaline in your body with nowhere for it to go because there isn't a scary event to use that adrenaline up on. So you're constantly then running on adrenaline, which causes this uneasy, nervous tummy, start manifesting all these different feelings and tummy aches, headaches, sweating, all those sorts of things. And you're running on it constantly. So when you start suffering from panic attacks and things, and people say, well, what were you thinking about at the time when you had the panic attack? You are actually thinking about anything, because it's a consistent amount of what ifs over time that suddenly it overspills. And that's what creates the panic attack. So again, people that suffer with panic attacks are like, I don't know what I was thinking. A lot of people say, what are you worried about? What are you stressed about? And they're like, I don't know. So again, they feel like they can't get help for that because they can't put their finger on what it is. But again, it's a lot to do with how you're talking to yourself, what your beliefs are, how you're framing things, and how your feelings are affecting your behaviour and your thoughts. So it's all interconnected, and it's just what I do in my practice is clean that all up and like reset people back to the beginning so they can start afresh with a different way of thinking. A lot of people also that I deal with tend to be the overthinkers that come to me. So a lot of those people spend a lot of time in their heads. So it's generally they're running on a big timeline. So they're worrying a lot about their future and they're worrying a lot about their past as well. So they're bringing a lot of their lifetime back into the day that they're in and stressing about it.
Yeah. Can you tell everybody a little bit then about the eye movement therapy? Because this was something that I'd never heard of before. It's something that I'd never crossed paths with. So when I think it was my sister actually that said to me, you need to go and see Louise. She's a genius. She's a wizard. She'll sort you out. And by this point, I was open to trying anything. And I kid you not, I sat in the car outside your treatment space for a good 15-20 minutes just psyching myself up to come and see you. And after that very first session, and I thought, what's this eye thing? This is strange. But since that day in 2019, I have not had one single panic attack since. It doesn't even cross my mind. I don't even think about it anymore. So just explain how that works, because it's amazing.
Yeah, so basically, with the eye movement, what tends to happen is when we make sense of the world, every single day, every single thing that we do, even crossing a road, we don't just take it for what it is in front of us. We when we learn something, we store that information in a filing cabinet, if you like, in our brain. And then going forward, every time we do anything, our brain goes, without us realizing it, what do I know about this? So if we go to cross the road, our brain goes, what do I know about crossing the road? And it goes to the filing cabinet that we learn the green cross code. And just like that, we learn that information. It comes forward and we know to look left and right. And so we create filing cabinets every time we learn something new. And that's really helpful. It's a way of our brain storing it. And all that information is stored somewhere in our brains. And we're not consciously aware of a lot of it that's stored there because there's years and years of information. But what happens is when we experience something in the now that's maybe not a pleasant experience or whatever, what we tend to do is we will go back to make sense of it. So say, for example, you've been in a traumatic relationship or something like that in the past. So you've been in a relationship that's not been very pleasant, and you've kind of come out of it and you've got over it, but you've stored that information is stored somewhere in your brain. When you store like a trauma memory, it stores with a lot of emotion attached to it. It's not just the memory itself.
Yeah.
So it's one of those memories that when you go back in time, it makes you, and you
almost relive that memory and
you
feel
that horrible feeling. And so it's kind of stored away, and you think, I've put that to the back of my mind. I'm moving forward with my life. But what we do is, say you are going about your business and you're at work and somebody is maybe a little bit cutting with you or a little bit rude to you at work, and they may say something and it really affects your self-esteem, your brain will go to your self-esteem, try to make sense of it, and it'll maybe go
It'll
to
go back to that filing box. Yeah.
yeah, what do I know about self-esteem? And unfortunately, it might connect to that filing cabinet where you've gone through some trauma in a past relationship. And that's when you can sort of feel like you sabotage. So you might quit your job because it just feels, I don't like that person. And or you might sabotage future relationships, or you may just get such overwhelming feelings and you're just thinking, this is ridiculous for the event that I'm actually in right now. So we pull a lot of things forward. So eye movement therapy, what that does is it goes to those connections of filing cabinets, and it sort of separates and disassociates from ones that you're pulling forward involuntarily, subconsciously, without realizing it. So because it separates those memories, if you like, and those feelings that are attached to it, you can't have the same response in the now anymore. So if a panic attack is generated from a past filing cabinet and the emotion that's in it, if we disassociate from that, you're not going to get the same level of feeling.
Yeah.
So you can't feel it as strong.
And it was so strange. It was just from having it as what's the word I'm looking for? From a treatment point of view, it was kind of like when you'd finished the session, I knew that it was there, the problems that were causing me to have the panic attacks, but it was like they were so far away, I could see them, and it's like, oh yes, I remember you. So it wasn't like wiped from my memory or anything.
No.
But it was just out of reach and like up on a shelf and not bothering me, and I could think about it without absolutely breaking down and turning into a teary mess again. And it was
it's
it was amazing.
The memory remains, but the feelings, the negative feelings aren't attached. That's what it's like.
So, like you just said, it was such a, it was almost like a breaking ceremony. You know, like we do in Wicca, we have the candles and the everything, and we cut the cords. It was kind of that sort of a feeling. It was just so surreal and just so quick. It happened just like I thought, oh God, I'm going to be in therapy for months, years. It's going to take forever. And it was one session.
Yeah.
And it all changed.
Yeah. And I think the nicest thing from that is how freeing it is. And it's not like a light bulb moment. It's almost like when you go forward then in your life, it's like, that would have really upset me, or that would have really bothered me, or normally I couldn't think about that before. So it's strange because it's just been like, it's just removed. It's just a part that you no longer connect to, and it's really freeing going forward. Some people get really giddy after having eye movement because it's they feel just so released from having it removed from where they were. So like some people, like you say, it's one session, and then others, depending on, sometimes what happens with eye movement is it uncovers one thing. Because if we're working on an identity, like or a feeling like guilt or grief, or an identity like I'm a bad person, or everything always goes wrong for me, or something like that, it can uncover. It's a bit like
many layers.
And so then the eye movement the next time might have to go in on something a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. But generally it's really, really quick.
That's a little bit like the EFT that I use as well. You know, we can tap on one emotion and then that'll uncover something else. So then we have to change the routine and tap on something different. So that makes sense to me. I understand that.
Yeah.
But, oh my goodness. It's just, I think everybody just needs to know about it. I was like, well, if I didn't know about it, who else doesn't know about it?
Yeah. It's quite special, really special. And that coupled with the neurolinguistics and how you speak to yourself and how you manage your timelines and how you manage your thought processes, it just sits so lovely together. And it's like you've wiped the slate clean, and then you fresh start doing a reset and fresh start on your brain, so that your brain suddenly starts to work for you rather than against you going forward. And the loveliest thing about the type of therapy I do is situationally nothing really changes, but the way that you
the way you approach things maybe, or
the way you react, the way you approach things, the way you interact with people, rather than feeling like victim or feeling like it's your fault or your responsibility, or feeling insecure about yourself, you can pass things back to other people a little bit. It's very freeing, and you leave behind a lot of those sort of emotions, all the sort of things that you think, I wish I didn't do that, and I wish I could do that, and I wish I could not do that. All of those things get left behind, so it's really nice to move forward from.
Oh, it's fabulous. I love it. I can come and live at your house. I'll be like that. Do the eye thing, please. Do it, do it, do it. So what brought you to this kind of journey then? Because you're quite a spiritual person, which is why I think I connected to you. I know
Yeah,
you practice your Buddhism,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah. So yeah, I've always been, a bit of a deep thinker, liking sort of alternative things. Went off traveling when I was 19 and spent a lot of time traveling, which really ignited that searching spirit in me. Started looking into lots of different things. Always been very much into tarot and crystals and all sorts of things like that. Always like that when I was younger. I became a Nichiren Buddhist when I was about 31. Met the practice there after reading up on different types of Buddhism. Became a Nichiren Buddhist, practiced in the local area. And then during that time as well, probably actually before I became Buddhist, but I was sort of reading up on about it as I was started my training. And it was actually when I decided on the type of therapy that I was going to, originally, which was the neurolinguistics. I got my degree in psychology, but I wanted to sort of hone in on more of a solution focused rather than going down a counselling route, because I wanted to feel quite like myself while I was working with people. And I
Yeah.
felt like counselling would feel quite heavy on me. So I wanted to leave sessions feeling really buzzy and like I really connected with people and felt like I'd really helped. So people would come to me and leave feeling like upbeat
Oh, it definitely does
and
that. Definitely.
motivated. Yeah, so I wanted that like happy vibe sort of a feeling, but being able to help people as well. So I looked at different solution focused therapists, and I was actually at a mind, body, and spirit fair and met this guy there that I got chatting to. He was there for something completely different, and I can't really remember what it was at the time. But anyway, I got chatting to him, and he told me, we were talking about different therapies. I said I'd studied in psychology, and he mentioned to me about neurolinguistics, and I'd never really heard about it before. And he ran training courses in it. So we kept in touch, and I ended up going on one of his training courses, which was like a real just short introduction to it. Really, it was a couple of days, and then from that I signed up to do all my levels, which over the time took about 4.5 years in that type of therapy to the level that I wanted to get to. And then from there and meeting all sorts of different people while I was training in that, from all different walks of life. There's police officers training, there was,
wow.
All sorts of different people. Then I looked into, I got chatting with somebody about the integral eye movement, and then they put me in touch with the person that they'd trained in integral eye movement, and I went on to do 2 years of training within the integral eye movement therapy. So yeah, it sort of all came from there really, and and then I was really, really fortunate to practice privately in my local area, and somebody that worked for one of the secondary schools in the area, who ran an outreach facility for the kids that were struggling to get into education, asked me to go in and work with some of the kids there. And I started doing that, and that led me into working with children in the education facility. And then it just sort of grew from there. Obviously, in Whitby, it's a small place, and word got out. Really. And
wow.
now I work with kids and adults.
So it works across all ages. There's no limitations with it.
No.
Which is brilliant. And it's just why I brought Lulu to see you as well, because I think it's what you said before. You wanted to put your stamp on it, and you wanted to make it feel like an uplifting thing as well as getting better at the same time. And I think this hits back to when I was sat in that doctor's surgery thinking, oh my God, this is awful. I don't like this one bit. And they're trying to just push a pill on it. And it was in that moment I thought, I don't want to take a tablet. I want to work through it. And I need somebody to help me work through it. I don't just want to mask it with a prescription and then forget about it. I mean, that's not for everybody. Obviously, some people, they need to do that. They have to go through certain routes to get better. But it was just like the universe had just landed you on a plate to me. I was like, I went through that, and literally a few days later, I had your phone number in my hand, and I went, oh, thank you, universe. Ask and you shall receive. So it's just wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me and our family.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's just wonderful. And I think if you have the chance, I mean, do sessions like this, can they work via Zoom as well, or does it have to be in person for the eye movement therapy?
For the eye movement, it really, I prefer to do. Some people will do it on Zoom, but for me, I prefer to do it face to face, the eye movement. But with regards to the other sides of the therapy, so the general therapy for anxiety, and not everybody feels the need for the eye movement either. So some people they don't have the eye movement therapy. So, but for the other types of therapy, I do online sessions. And for my life coaching as well, I obviously do online sessions for that. So it's I think, you know, some people do the eye movement online, but I prefer to do it face to face.
Yeah. I say a lot of people ask me that with the Reiki as well. I mean, you can do the distant healing, which is lovely. But people say, can we do the attunement over Skype? And I'm like, no. I need to see you face to face. I need to put my hands on you. So I
think it's that I like that personal connection when I'm doing the eye movement therapy, and I get I like the, you know, to pick up on feelings and all sorts of things like that while I'm doing it. So
because you are a super intuitive person, aren't you?
I think I can pick up on what people are feeling and stuff at the time as well. Yes, helps.
Because I suppose you get a lot of people say one thing, but their body language says a completely different thing. As well. Absolutely. So you're good at reading people.
Or their language, their sort of language that they use. Obviously working in linguistics, you pick up on somebody's language, so they can say one thing, but the language that they're using actually is telling me something completely different. So I get a lot of people saying, like, I'm a really positive person, but their language, they use lots of negative, like, side language that you can pick up on. So I think I do prefer that face to face, particularly with the eye movement. But I do a lot of work online as well.
You're a fully booked lady, you see, because you're just fabulous and everybody wants you. She's in demand, boys and girls. She's in demand.
It is very busy at the moment.
So if you could, before we wrap up our lovely little chat, obviously you know lots about putting positive, like you said, about pulling the timelines in, making things in the present. If you could give people just an exercise that they could do daily just to help them stay in the moment and project that positivity rather than worrying about tomorrow or grieving about what was, is there a little trick that they can do every day that might help them?
I think one of the biggest things, and the majority of people that come to see me are really very through time people. So rather than being very in the moment, and in timers don't really come and see me because they don't stay with anything long enough for it to worry them. So as soon as they they obviously have things that they worry about, but as soon as they feel anything, they just go, oh, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. And then they sort of shrug it off. Whereas through timers tend to run it through the timeline quite a lot. They run it backwards and forwards. So they'll go to their past and look for examples to build evidence. And then they'll go forward in time and do the what if thinking. So through timers are generally the type of people that come to see me. So they have a really, really big timeline and they spend an awful lot of time in it. So, and it tends to be the way that you're made up is your timeline. It's sort of, you've always kind of been a little bit like that. And if you go through a really not a very nice time, it can make the timeline get even bigger. And also, as you get older, you have more things to worry about. Once you have
Oh God,
children,
don't we know that?
things like that, your timeline gets even bigger. And what we
Yeah.
tend to do as well, as through timers, is we'll jump into other people's timelines. So when you have children, you don't just worry about your own timeline, you start to think about theirs. How will this affect them? How will it affect their future? So you might have 3 or 4 different
Oh, I
timelines.
think you're speaking to every single mother I know at the moment.
Yeah. So what we tend to do is not only have to deal with our own timeline, but we're dealing with other people. So I think one of the biggest things, and that everybody that's an overthinker will have to deal with, is their timeline. So I think it's a case of really, really making the effort to try and pull that into just the day that you're in. So like every morning when you get up, really concentrating on, from now till going to bed, I'm just going to sort of tunnel vision it from now till going to bed. And I'm not going to let the past come in, and I'm not going to let the future come in. And I'm just going to focus on today. Because what a lot of people tend to do who suffer with anxiety or overthinking, if you said to them, what's actually going wrong for you today, there probably isn't anything. And what actually they're doing is they're making things up in the future that might go wrong, but they're worrying about them today. Or they're going over things that have happened last week. Did I say that? What do they think of me? What if they think this? Blah, blah, blah. And they're pulling that into today. And that past stuff, like, what do they think of me? That's been and gone. You can't even change it. And the future stuff hasn't even happened yet and probably won't. So what tends to happen is you end up ruining a perfectly good day off or a weekend by being in the future or in the past. So the real basic thing to do to make life just so much easier and give you some breathing space is to just wake up in the morning and think, tunnel vision from now till going to bed. I'm just going to concentrate on the day that I'm in. And I'm not going to let anything, almost like a horse with those blinkers on, to stop it from getting distracted.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to focus on what's directly in front of me and just trying to compartmentalize to the day that you're in. Because a lot of the stuff that people get anxious about or worried about hasn't happened yet and probably won't. So a lot of it's just made up in their head. So it's almost pulling, if you like, coming through your eyeballs and more into the moment of where you are, rather than being stuck in your head worrying about the timeline and the future and the past, and being a bit more focused on the day that you're in. And just that in itself is such a relief, because a lot of people feel like they've got so much go, and it takes you back to that whole, my life's kind of perfect, but I seem to worry about everything. It's going back to that, what people say. It's because they're not in the moment. They're not in the day that they're in. They're not in their perfect world. They're in their heads making things up instead.
Yeah. Living inside the box.
Yeah. So if they can remind themselves every day that they're just going to focus on the day that they're in and really try and sort of compartmentalize it, just enjoying today from now till going to bed, and then getting up and repeating that day after day, that's where life becomes a lot easier as a starting point.
I tell you what really worked for me as well, that you gave me on our first session, just before we wrap it up, was you told me each morning to say 3 things that I was really looking forward to, because I was so busy worrying about everything that was going to go wrong. And then at the end of the night, say 3 things that I was really grateful for that day. And I found that really helped with me. And I even got my husband, Jace, doing it with me. So we'd be like, oh, I'm looking forward to a cup of tea. I'm looking forward to seeing the kids' smiley faces when they come out of school. It didn't have to be like huge, exuberant things.
Yeah, and even if you can't think of the 3 in the beginning, just 1 or 2. And it just starts your day on a positive and it ends your day on a positive.
Oh, exactly that. And then before too long, I was doing it without even thinking about it. It was just like subconsciously, oh, I'm going to look forward to this today.
Yeah.
Without having to search for those things.
Yeah.
You know, what's going to make me feel good? What's going to make me this? What's going to make me that? Am I going to panic today?
Yeah. And it just puts you in a completely different headspace for that day.
Yeah.
Because we tend to, the reason it's good to do that first thing on the morning, last thing at night, is we tend to, if we're in a negative place or a negative frame of mind, we tend to wake up and go, here we go again.
Yeah, definitely.
And get into bed and chew on everything that's gone wrong. So if you get into the habit of going, right, what am I looking forward to today? And then getting into bed on the night and going, this was nice, I really appreciated this.
Yeah.
It just sort of flips it on its head. And then you start to filter the world much more positively rather than negatively. Because there's good stuff out there as much as there is
Oh,
things
there
going wrong.
absolutely is. Everyone used to say to me, because obviously we lived in Spain for nearly 14 years, and it's like you said, I had this charmed life. I was like fancy free, didn't have a care in the world, everything was amazing. I lived in shorts and flip flops, and the sun was always shining. And then just boom, consecutively, trauma, 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 trauma. And then that perfect bubble just seemed to go pop. And then just got stuck in this rut of, well, everything bad's going to happen. So it's going to continue to happen. And it just took you to just go, actually, no, it won't. And here's what we're going to do about it.
Yeah.
And it did. It works. It's brilliant. Back to the purple, positive, bubbly person I used to be.
Yeah.
Ah, bless you so much, Louise. You're an absolute diamond.
Oh, thank you, Jo. So,
And you know what? We started off as clients and what's the word? Healer.
Yeah.
And now I like to think that we're friends as well.
That's very true. I like to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've been an absolute superstar. Thank you so much for talking to me.
You're more than welcome. It's been lovely. I've enjoyed it.
And it's just good to get an insight of other things that are out there to help people. Because obviously I'm healing with the energy, you're healing with the mind and the words.
That's it. Exactly.
It's all good.
What a team. What a team.
Oh, we should start a duo. Bless you, my love. Well, I'm going to let you go because I do know that you've got to go and pick up your lovely girls from school.
That's true.
I think my husband, if he's remembered, should be at my school gates as well. So hopefully.
Well, thank you for inviting me on to chat to you. It's been lovely.
You're very welcome. And hopefully I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Jo. Thanks ever
You're
so much.
welcome, my love. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
And there we go, everybody. That was just the best chat with Louise. And I really hope that you all found it useful, found it helpful. Maybe it's introduced you to a new treatment that you didn't know about. I just want to take this time again just to say a big thank you to Louise for taking time out of her very busy day to chat to me. She's on Facebook, Louise Rothwell Therapist. If you'd like to follow her, give her a thumbs up, give her a like. And I'm sure if you had any further questions, you could always send her a message into her inbox. So thanks again for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please tune in next week because next week I will be speaking to the lovely Michael from Alchemy Healing Sounds. And we're going to be talking all things gongs, singing bowls, music. It's going to be a great chat. So I'll speak to you all next week and have a great day.